A very good day I would like to wish to all of you. Today's webinar is on formulating good research titles. So I believe that all of you are here right now to learn how to give a good impression to your research, which is to construct good research title. So I hope that all of you are here to are going to learn a lot of things, especially how to construct good research titles to link to your research objectives and your research questions as well. All right, so before I start, I would like to introduce myself. I am Dr. Esther Hui, and look at the quotation on the first slide. Okay, so for research title, remember, you are unique. So give your title a voice. All right, so a research title will give a wow factor to your research to let the readers or your examiners or your supervisors or whoever are reading your work, like, wow, what is this research about? Okay, so they get yourself engaged to your research. All right, let's start this webinar. So for research title 101, okay, so we are going to start this webinar on how to write good research titles and the tips and guidelines on how to do it. Okay. So for the webinar's objectives, firstly, to generate ideas that will help you in the choice of a suitable research title. Okay. Secondly, to identify the attributes or characteristics of a good research title. And thirdly, to turn research ideas into a research that has clear research questions and objectives. So which means for your research titles, basically you need to link all your ideas together to construct research questions and research objectives as well. All right, so I hope that by the end of this webinar, all of you will know how to construct good research titles. All right, so what is a research title? Okay, so it is a research problem in capsule form. So basically, it should be concise because you will have to write down the variables or constructs that you're going to analyze. Okay, basically, the research title is important because when the readers read the research title, they will get to know what is the research about. Okay, what is your research going to analyze and so forth. Okay, so it also must clearly reflect the topic of investigation. All right, so whatever your research idea that you're going to do, hopefully it will be linked to your research title. Okay, so basically, if let's say your research title is on business news, like for my PhD research is on business news, so the research title should link to business news, not in academic writing. Okay, so because if let's say your idea is on business news, suddenly you write your research title on academic writing, which is not linked. So please make sure that it's clear enough, okay, for that sense. All right, it must be original, clear, and specific. Okay, if let's say when you read on past research studies, okay, and you see that there are similar research titles, okay, so basically you would know that, oh, okay, there are actually past studies that are done for that. So do not use the same research titles. However, you can modify it, okay, to fill in the gap. Modify your research title to make it different and how your research can contribute to society. Okay, so basically you need to learn about this, right? Okay, so properly formulating and defining the research title will help to choose the most appropriate research strategy. Okay, so when you have a good research title, you will know what you're going to use, what strategy you're going to use to collect your data. Okay, what intervention are you going to use? Are you going to analyze it using content analysis, thematic analysis, or so forth? All right. And then formulating good research title will help you also to choose the most appropriate data collection. Okay, so basically, are you going to collect your data qualitatively using interviews, maybe using document analysis, or using something that is different, yeah? And if let's say you want to do something where you want to collect your data quantitatively, okay, so you use data collection, like maybe using data collection like SPSS. SPSS is the quantitative software, yeah. So basically, that's why when you have a good research title, you will know what to do. How are you going to collect your data? Okay, and then to choose the most appropriate analysis techniques. All right, so basically, from your data collection, you will know what type of analysis that you're going to do. Okay, basically, are you going to do a quantitative analysis using SPSS, power, energy, and so forth? I do not know the, Amos, PLS, SAM, and so forth. Okay, yeah, basically those softwares. Or are you going to analyze your qualitative data collection using Atlas TI, Mendeley, and so forth? All right. So for this research title, you have to start with research ideas. So your research ideas will help you to construct good research title. Okay. Okay. Ensure your research title is something that you are capable of undertaking. All right. So when you start off doing a research, you must remember not to be too ambitious. Okay. When you do a master or a PhD research, you are not going to change the world. Remember that. All right. You are going to just do a research to contribute to society, okay, or community. Now, even though there's a minute thing, very small thing that you're going to do, okay, you will help others or practitioners or any other people, okay, in terms of maybe changing the curriculum sector or education sector or so forth. It's just a little bit, but it will help you to guide those people to be better off. Okay, so remember, do not be ambitious. Okay, know your limits, know your potential as well. Okay, then you have to have a genuine interest in this research title. Okay, so this is because when you do a master or PhD research, you're going to do it for a long period of time. It's not one semester, which maybe consists of 3 to 4 months or 6 months, depending on the university, but it's for masters 2 to 3 years. For PhD is 4 to 6 years. So make sure you have a passion to do it. Okay, so you need to know what you're going to do. Okay, so you have to look at the research titles that are related to you, because these research titles will help you in your career prospects. Okay, so let me just share with you about my PhD title. My PhD title focused on business news, and it's basically focused on ESP, which is English for specific purposes. So this research title actually helped to the business news writers to engage the readers to the text. So it helps in terms of soft skills, okay, and how to create rapport with the readers. All right. So this actually will help to ensure employability in a way. So recently, I just got accepted as an assistant professor in Utah. So basically, this research title was important because during the interview, the interviewer actually asked me, why am I researching this? So I mentioned about this, and it helped me to get the position, which I'm still quite sure. Okay, so basically, you must remember your research will help you to get better career prospects in that way. Okay, so remember this. All right, so remember that your research title should excite your imagination. Okay, it's going to be a wow ride. Okay, you need to think outside of the box, not only think in this one narrow way. It's going to be very specific, it's going to be very broad. Okay, don't just look at it at one angle, but on different angles. So how are you going to excite your imagination? Okay, talk to your friends. Okay, talk to your peers. Talk to your supervisors. Remember, you must always have a discussion with your supervisor in that sense. Okay, so then after that, you will have a progress of what you want to do. Okay, so this will help you to excite your imagination. Okay, so then it's going to be a wow journey, but it's going to be very interesting as well. All right. So ensure your research title develops research skills as part of undertaking the research. All right. So like what I said earlier on, I got accepted in as for a lecturing job. Okay, so for my research skills, during my interview, final stage of interview, okay, there were two stages of interview. So the final stage of interview actually was very intense because I had technological problems at that time. So for developing research skills, okay, I had to be disciplined in a way because I couldn't get in to Microsoft Teams at that time for my interview and I panicked. Yeah. So how did I develop these research skills? I kept my momentum going in trying and trying. So that is the skill of research. Keep on trying and trying and trying. And after 1 hour and 10 minutes, I finally got in. I was sweating all over, but I got in. Finally, I got into the interview. And then after that, whatever questions they asked me, I just try my best. Yeah. And that's how it is because research skills are acquired throughout your research journey. Okay, so keep your momentum going, keep your discipline level going, and always trying not to give up. I was about to give up, but I did not give up. So this research title also will help you in doing it. Okay, develop your research skills. Throughout the research journey, it will help you to do that, right? Okay, so attributes of a good research title means characteristics of a good research title. Now, you need to know whether your research title fit the specifications and meet the standards set by the examining institution. All right. So from the institution that I was in for my PhD at UPM, they only state that the research title must consist of 15 words, not more than 15 words. If not, the Senate, UPM Senate will not accept my title. So your research is like completely rejected, you know. So this research title is actually very important. So make sure you have a good research title before embarking yourself in doing a research. Okay. So make sure you have to check how many words, okay, are required. Okay. Secondly, is the title with which you are really fascinated. Okay. So like what I said earlier on, you need to have a passion in doing it. You need to know whether this title really reflects on what you want to do for the next few years. All right. Does your title contain issues that have clear link to theory? Okay, so for a research, you must remember that you need to have a theory. What type of theory to relate to your research? And in this title, is there a theory linked to your research? Okay, so you need to think about it. Okay, then is the research title achievable within the available time frame? Okay, so like what I said earlier on, do not be ambitious. Are you able to do it or not? Okay, if you are not able to do it, if you think that your constructs or variables are too many, okay, take out a little bit of your constructs or variables and then discuss with your supervisor again to see whether you can do it and finish it within the time frame. So communication with your supervisor is very important as well, yeah? Okay, do you have or can you develop within the research time frame the necessary research skills to undertake the time? Okay, so make just like the earlier characteristic, you need to develop your research time frame. Have a proper time frame or timeline. Okay, discuss with your supervisor, plan it out. Okay, and remember your time frame should be logical. Yeah, you do not come up with a time frame that requires you not to sleep day and night. Okay, so basically maintain a disciplined lifestyle. Okay, you can also go for your social life. Okay, I'm not saying that you need to be in your room all the time looking at the laptop. No, but plan it out well and keep your momentum going. Do not stop. Okay, do not ever stop doing your research because once you stop, the next day you'll continue to stop and then you stop and stop and stop and you delay your whole work. So do not do it. Continue your momentum. If you have an unproductive day on that day itself, maybe you can just read some articles or journals or maybe thesis and then draft out what are the good sentences that you found and then put it into your draft and then you save it. Yeah, this will also help you to keep your momentum going. Okay. Then, is the research title achievable within the financial resources that are likely to be available? All right, so you need to know your research requires financial resources. All right, so basically, the financial resources available or not? Do you have the expenses or the resources, okay, that are good enough, okay, to finish your research? So look at it at that point of angle. So research title is actually very important for that as well. All right, moving on. Are you reasonably certain of being able to gain access to data that you are likely to require for this title? Okay, this was important because you come up with a research title, then are you able to collect data or not? Now, when you want to say, okay, so for your data, if it involves students, teachers, writers, and so forth, are you able to approach them or not? Are you able to go to the schools, especially when it comes to students and teachers and educators? Are you able to go to the school? Are you able to access the data? Now, these are the important things that you need to know, because if not, later you say you want to help in improving the English language in secondary school levels because they are not proficient enough. But then if you are unable to go into the schools, then your research title will not be good enough. Yeah, you cannot even conduct the research. So think about it. Be logical. Okay. Are you able to state your research questions and objectives clearly? Now you need to know your research title relates to your research question and objective. So are they linked or not? Right? Will your proposed research title be able to provide fresh insights into the title? Okay, so you must remember your research title is important to see whether you can contribute any novelty or help the society to do something. Okay, if you are just going to do a research, but there is no novelty, no contribution, then that research has no quality. It's not going to be a good research. Okay, now if you want to do a research, you must remember it should be of good quality. It's not about how long you do it, but it's about how good your research is. Okay, because you do not want to spend your research and doing it just for the sake of doing it, but not helping the others about it. All right. Now, does your research title relate clearly to the idea that you have been given? Okay, so you have an idea. Is it the same as your research title? All right, be consistent. Right, are your findings for this research title likely to be symmetrical, of similar value, whatever the outcome? Okay, so are your findings or assumptions the same of what you want to do with from your research title? Okay, so you need to look at it. So if it's like, for example, you want to help students to improve, like the earlier one I said, improve in their English language, are you able to get the improvement or not in this language? Okay, so these are the assumptions that you need to come up with as well. And remember, consider your career goals. Whatever research will help you to determine your career goals, because the interviewers will always ask you, why are you doing this research? So how is this research going to be contributed to my organization or to my company, or in my case, to my university? What will you help with? Okay, so remember this. All right, so techniques for generating research titles. There are two types of thinking. Okay, so it depends on you, either rational thinking or creative thinking. Okay, so for rational thinking, you need to examine your own strengths and interests. Okay, so you know yourself better than everyone else. You know your potential, you know your limits, you know your weaknesses. So examine it yourself. Okay, look at past research titles. All right, so maybe when you look, okay, something that is related. Maybe, for example, for my research, it's meta-discourse features in business news. Why did I do that? Because for past research titles, it's on meta-discourse features in academic writing and not in business news. Yeah, so I wanted to fill in the gap. That's where I come in meta-discourse features in business news, because there are no studies done to date for business news, very few studies. So that's why you need to look at past research titles, okay? Very important. Discussions. So like what I mentioned earlier on, discuss with supervisor, discuss with friends. Okay, so normally people will say, okay, when you discuss with friends, you get even more confused. No, actually you get more feedback and comments. maybe your friends might not understand your research, right? But when you tell them, okay, about your research, they might give you feedback. Okay, maybe they might give you other angles. Okay, then you have to be a researcher yourself to determine, okay, whether you can use this or not. So you're a researcher, you need to know whether this could be done or this couldn't be done. Okay, so you need to be independent and read a lot. So we read a lot, search the literature. Okay, so the literature means your past studies. Usually we search it from articles, reports, books, and so forth. Okay, that is for rational thinking. How about creative thinking? Now, creative thinking, maybe you are the type of person who can think creatively but not rationally. Okay, so then you keep a notebook of ideas, right? So you have a notebook, a journal to keep down. You list all the ideas that you have, all the titles that you have in mind, and then take it out, reflect and see which ones are more relatable to you. Okay, then exploring personal preferences using past research. Okay, so which titles that you prefer more familiar? So explore, and then take it. Okay, all right, and then relevance trees, mind mapping. Mind mapping, so you come up with like mind map, and you brainstorm and see what are the research titles that you can actually come up with. Okay, and then take it out as well, which ones are more suitable, and brainstorm. When you brainstorm, when you have already when you have done your mind mapping, then you will be able to brainstorm the relevant ideas related to your research title. All right. Okay, so when it comes to brainstorming, basically the first one, you will define your problem. Okay, so remember, in a research, there should be a problem. If there is no problem, there is no research. Okay, so problem is very important to help you define your research. Okay, so remember, problem is the thing. When you have a problem, you brainstorm, then you come up with the relevant research questions and relevant research objectives related to your research. Okay, then ask questions related to the problem. Okay, so questions like WH questions, 5 wives, 1 husband, like who are involved, where is it done, why is it done, how is it done, and so forth. Okay, so related to the problem. Okay, and then record all suggestions. Okay, so when you have all the questions answered, you record all the suggestions, and then you see which ones are good enough for your research. Okay, moving on. Then you review all suggestions and explore what is meant by each. Okay, what is this research title about? What is this research area about? And so forth. See which one is good enough, which one is not good enough, which one is bad, which one is adequate, and so forth. So a lot of reading is done. Okay, and then analyze the list of suggestions and decide which appeal to you as research topics and why. Okay, so from the list of suggestions, see which one is more appealing, and then give out a reason. Why are you going to do this? Okay, so like what I mentioned earlier on, your research will help to contribute something, very, very minute thing to the society. So how is it going to be done? How is it appealing to you? Okay. All right, so turning research ideas into research titles. Okay, so looking at this, we have idea, research question, and research objectives. Okay, they are all related to construct research titles. So your idea, the idea stated in the slide, yeah, the recruitment via the internet. Okay, so research question, how effective is recruiting new staff via the internet in comparison with traditional methods? Okay, then coming up with research objective to define the effectiveness of recruitment via internet. So if you notice, this idea, research question, and research objectives are all related, nothing different. Okay, are all connected. All right, so I want this webinar to be interactive. So what I would want all of you to do, okay, so my question right now to all of you is this. Okay, question. From the research question, do you think that this research involves quantitative or qualitative data collections? All right. So what I would require all of you to do right now, can you help me to write out your opinion in the chat column of the Zoom link, Zoom meeting. Okay, write out your feedback. Okay, so I'll give you some time before we discuss this further. All right. Thanks for the discussion that we had for the first question. There are more questions, so hopefully you all are alert for this webinar. Okay, it's okay to make mistakes right now, yeah? So we learn from it. Okay, everyone make mistakes at the beginning. That's why it's called research. Okay, so let's move on for what I discussed earlier on. Okay, so research questions. What, which, why, and to what extent questions, they involve quantitative or qualitative data collections. All right, but only for how questions. If you put how like the question earlier on, okay, these questions involve qualitative data collections. Okay, so to make sure that your research objectives are clear, okay, you use words like to explore, to analyze, to investigate, to determine, to examine, and early on, like we had, to define. Okay, make sure you do not use words like to check, to see, to find out. How are you going to check? How are you going to see? How are you going to find out? These words are not specific enough. Okay, so do not use these words because too subjective, right? Okay, let's move on. The connection between theory and practice, cause and effect relationship. Okay, so when one thing happens, another thing will happen. So for example, the expectations that if doing A, then B will happen. Cause, effect. Cause will happen, effect will happen. All right, so that is research. All right, okay. For research, it's intelligence gathering. Okay, so which means gathering of facts. All right, so usually when you want to conduct a research, it could be done in both ways. Firstly, deductive approach, which means you understand the theory first, means you have a theory in mind, you understand it, then only you select your data, okay, and do your research. All right, but there is another way, inductive approach, which means you already have your data, you select your data already, okay, then you use a theory to define the theory and relate it to your data. Okay, so there are two approaches to do your research. Okay, so there is no right or wrong answer, yeah, to do a research. So for my master's and PhD research, what I did, I used inductive approach, which means I have my data at hand, I selected my data, then I use a theory to relate to my data. All right. Okay. So these are the examples of broad topics, okay? So basically, when you look at these topics, when you look at them, you do not know what are the variables or constructs that you're going to use, okay? So you look at this. Firstly, first topic, yeah, blended learning in English class. Okay, so when you look at this topic, you do not know who are the participants, okay? Yeah, we know where is it held, English class, but who are the participants, okay? And how are you going to conduct it and so forth? So too broad, right? Okay, then second topic, presidential election results. Okay, where? In Malaysia? In America? Or in other countries? Okay, so need to be specific in that. Agribusiness. Agribusiness, okay, what is it? No definition on it, all right? Social networking, okay, social networking, there are a lot of social networking sites such as LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Which one? Okay, and then the last topic, oh, vegetarianism. Oh, something that is very specific, yeah, something that is quite hard to understand, so it's too broad, right? Okay, so my question to all of you right now, okay, I will hope that you will give some opinions about this, yeah? So how would you modify one of the topics mentioned to be a specific topic? Just choose one topic, any topic, okay? And if you have listened and pay attention to what I said earlier on, yeah, make sure you are able to write a good topic, and then we learn from them, okay? So I give you some time for you to write your answers in the chat column, okay? All right. So thanks for the discussion again. Yeah, I hope that now you know how to write better research topics. Yeah, not doing broad topics anymore. Okay. All right. So let us move on to examples of specific topics. Okay. So there are two topics right now. Okay. So firstly is a correlation study in the use of blended learning in English classes and student achievement. Secondly, the effects of self-assessment and teacher feedback on undergraduate students' argumentative writing performance and self-regulated learning. All right, so from these two specific topics, my question to you right now, do you think the specific topics are good enough? If not, how would you modify them? Okay, so please write out your answers. But if let's say the first topic is good enough, you just say good. If the second topic is not good enough, you say not good. And how do you modify it? Okay, up to you. How do you want to do it? Okay, then we will discuss on this further. All right. So thanks for the discussion that we had again. Okay, so basically 3 questions, yeah, and now you all know how to make sure that your research topic is good enough. Okay, now let me just share with you about my PhD study and what happened for my research titles. Yeah, for research title, okay, it will actually change from the moment you start doing your PhD or your master's until the end of your journey. Okay, so basically when you do your research, when you start your proposal, you have a research title, and then it will change again and again and again, following whatever you have read. Okay, and until Viva, you also have, maybe you might still need to change your research topic as well, research title or research topic. Okay, so for my PhD study, I had 4 research questions and 4 research objectives. Okay, so my research questions, first one, to what extent are the business news writers of the Star Online and Focus Malaysia aware of the use of meta discourse features? All right. Secondly, what are the forms and meta discourse categories found? Okay. Thirdly, what categories of meta discourse features are commonly used? And fourthly, how do the readers respond to the business news with meta discourse and those without meta discourse? Okay. So research questions and research objectives are similar to my research questions. So research objectives, to analyze the awareness. Okay. Second, to compare the forms of meta discourse categories. Third, to analyze the number of occurrences of categories of meta discourse. And lastly, to examine the reader's responses to business news with and without meta discourse. All right. So this is what happened for my PhD study. Yeah, I have 4 research questions and 4 research objectives. So this is what happened. For the start, during my proposal stage, my first research title was Functions, Linguistics, Realizations, and Importance of Meta Discourse Features in the Star Online and Focus Malaysia Business News. Okay, so I started to do this. This was my first research title. What happened was, after reading a lot, I realized that there's not much to discuss on importance of meta discourse features because it has already been done in the past studies. So I took it out. Okay, so my second research title was Functions and Linguistic Realization without importance. Well, importance was taken out. Okay, so this was my research title going towards Viva. So I submitted my thesis with that research title. So in the Viva, my examiners mentioned that functions were not really specifically described or explained in my thesis. So why not I take it out, okay, to safeguard myself and put in the variables or constructs for my research questions or objectives to my research title. So this is what happened, okay? So you can see writer's awareness, okay, is for my research question 1 or research objective 1. Linguistics realization is for my research questions 2 and 3 or research objectives 2 or 3. And then method and readers responses, yeah, is for my research question 4 or research objective 4. Okay, so you can see that is what happened. All right, so that is my third research title. But what happened? After that, I'm done everything, submitted to my supervisor, and then my supervisor detected something. Remember I said earlier on in UPM, there should not be more than 15 words for my research title. If you can see for my third research title, it's more than 15 words. So my supervisor suggested, okay, the Star Online and Focus Malaysia Business News, aren't they Malaysian business news? So then she said, okay, let's just do Malaysian business news. Okay, so when is that? It's within 15 words. Okay, and it has been accepted in UPM Senate. Okay, so that is very important, yeah. Okay, so earlier on we talked about research title for research thesis. Okay, now we look at another part, research title for journal article. Okay, so it's also very important to have a good research title for journal articles in order to have a wow factor. So when your editors or reviewers read your topic, the first thing that they need to do, they see the topic, right? Okay, so this is interesting enough. If it's not interesting enough, fair enough, you will see your research title being rejected. Research itself, not research title, sorry, research itself being rejected. Your paper will be rejected. So make sure your research title is good enough. Okay, so what should you do? Avoid language such as a study to investigate the examination of the, all right, you already know that it's already a study, an examination already. So you do not need to use all these redundant words, okay? But if you want to do like earlier on, we had a correlation study, cross-cultural study. You want to make it specific, then you can do it. But then if you don't have anything about that, then don't need to use it, okay? Okay. A title which is too short often uses words which are too broad and does not tell the reader what is being studied. Okay, for example, African politics. Okay, African politics. What are you going to talk about? Too general, right? So make sure you do not write too short. Okay, in academic writing, which means academic writing in journal articles, catchy phrases or non-specific language may be used, but only if it's within the context of the study. Okay, so for example, fair and impartial jury, catch and catch as catch can. This is very catchy, right? Okay, so you can use this, okay, but you must be sure that it's within your research scope. Do not do something that is not within your research scope and then use some catchy phrases that are not related. Okay. Lastly, avoid using humorous or clever journalistic styles of phrasing when creating the title to your paper. Okay, if you use a lot of journalistic styles, a lot of bombastic words, yeah, basically you will think that, oh, it's good enough, right? But when the readers or your reviewers, especially the reviewers or editors, when they look through, they do not know what is it all about, they immediately reject. Bear in mind, when you want to publish papers, reviewers, editors have a lot of papers to look at. So if your title is something that is too bombastic, bear in mind, it will be rejected, okay? Might be rejected. Not say will, might be rejected. Maybe if will, you are lucky enough, it will be accepted, okay? But make sure don't do that. Okay, so let me also share what I did for my research title for journal articles. Okay, so early on, I already shared my title for my PhD thesis. Okay, so look at the research title of my journal articles. All right, so remember, when you want to write a research title of journal articles, you do not copy verbatim, word by word from your research title, your thesis. Okay, it's not good. It doesn't reflect you as a researcher. Okay, change some words. Okay, so basically, like for first title of my research journal, use and linguistics realizations of meta discourse features in business news, looking from my PhD thesis. Okay, and secondly, text with meta discourse features are more engaging. A fact or a myth. Also, this second one, I use the approach of catchy phrases. Okay, so a fact or a myth. Okay, so something that is very curious, right? You arouse your curiosity, right? What is this about, right? So basically, that is my research title. Now, you must remember when you want to publish papers, right? So basically, for my research, I had 4 research objectives and 4 research questions and research objectives, right? So if you have 4, you can publish 4 papers. 1 research question or objective, you can publish 1 paper. So 4, you have 4. So I am in the midst of doing another 2 papers to fulfill more. No, not fulfill more. I have fulfilled the requirement to make sure that I will be able to share my knowledge to more people from my research. How could I help to the society? Okay, so that's about it. So any question and answer? Gladly welcome.